With advancements in 3D printing materials and the AI-driven workflows available within the iTero design suite, we have set 3D printing as the preferred method for the most of the applications in our practice. While the direct composite remains a material choice for aesthetic and minimal invasive restorations, we have relied on them for a long time and we will. 3D printing is reshaping the restorative workflow. We all know that. It offers efficiency and advanced comprehensive solutions for indirect restorations. Although we will continue to use both worlds, the evolution of dental resins and new materials show that the near future of chairside solutions lies clearly on 3D printing. This is a theme that we will explore further through these videos.
The digital patient experience begins at the consultation. Our assistant starts by scanning each patient with the new iTero Lumina scanner, and then it will review their health status using Align Oral Health Suite. It's going to help me to explain the issues and treatment options to the patients visually. Very important next steps is the preparations. And I want to emphasize that it's extremely important to make a very good preparation. This goes beyond digital or analog. The scanner will just capture what you have prepared. The margins have to be precise, well-defined, rounded, and clearly visible. All of the internal angles must be visible, round, and smooth. Now, to the preparation of the scanning is done, iTero Lumina will help you to improve the restoration workflow. Scanning process now is faster, it's easier, it's gonna save time for me, but also the whole process. I really love how it simplifies the treatment process for both me, again, and my patients. So now that we have already scanned our preparations, we're gonna send all this information to MyiTero.com, and again, we will have the iTero Design Suite ready to open. The software will open and we will have the prescription here, we have the details order, we have the information of the tooth that is going to be restored. You have here the parameters of the restorations, the materials, and also the parameters that you have pre-selected and you normally use, but it can be modified depending on the materials that you're using. So it's also that very important for you to understand that depending on the material, the printers, the timings, everything can be customized and has to be really personalized, depends on the materials that you're using. So if we are fine with it, we can go back and start the designing phase. As you can see here, I had already pre-selected the margin, but if you want, you can go back and modify it yourself. We are not going to do it here because we like the margin that has been selected clinically, but you have to understand that if you want, you can modify it in iTero Design Suite if you feel that is something that needs to be changed. So after that, we will start for the segmentation and to see how everything is selected, segmentation of the adjacents. We have different tooth libraries. We don't want to play so much on this, okay? We want to make it simple. We normally work with one or two libraries in the majority of our cases. Now the software is gonna readapt everything into the preparations. We will play now with the different tools that we have of free-forming, adding, removing, smoothing, giving these final touches that will be also added when we have the final restorations, but we can play a little bit here with interproximal contacts. You can see also how it's giving us a very nice anatomy already. So we are playing a little bit, but everything and most of the steps are automated. So everything is really becoming easier in the digital world. Now we check also a little bit on the occlusion, if we want to add more contact points or less contact points in the proximal area. And when the restoration is already complete, we're gonna click next. And again, we're gonna save the scene and we're gonna have the connection directly to the printer. Again, one of the big benefits that we have in iTero Design Suite is the direct connection with our printer. Now we select the material and we will also put the model here in this time so we can have the model base and we can have also the printed restoration. So we can select both, and the software will open and upload different options that you have here. What is important to understand is that even that you have done everything together, when you will go to print the restorations, it will be selected in different times. We have the model selected with the die of the printed solution that we're gonna have. This is the die and this is the model, and this is gonna be printed in one part. And then on the other side, we will add the restorations and we will be printed with the other resin. So we can close here, and now we will open and select the printed part that is gonna be the crown on the tooth 25. We don't put the model base now, we just select the crown that we have already designed. And it will again uploaded into our printer, selected the material that we have chosen before, and now we have to play with the different supports. It's important to put the supports in the correct position. It's important to understand how the software works, but we don't want to have any support in the marginal areas. We want to have them in the correct positions. And from there, we will again send all this information to the printer to be able to start the printing process, and we will teach you and show you all the step-by-step procedure. So now we are gonna change the tank to put the restorative material and all the elements that we need to start to print our restorations. First of all, we are gonna take out the tank that is already here. The one that we used before, as you saw it on the videos, was the previous splinted resin. Then we change for the tank of the resin that we're gonna use. This of course will really depend on the printer that you're using, but as you can see, everything is very easy to use. Secondly, we will change the platform. Again, depending on the material and the resin, you will have to use a dedicated platform, especially for restorative materials. You will log it in. And for the last part, you will take your liquid, your resin material, and you will introduce it after opening the vent here into your printer. So now you can confirm that everything is selected, and you will be ready after uploading the files here to start the restorative printing procedures. So our printed restorations are finished, and we are going to proceed with the final part as we showed before with the different other materials. So we're gonna check that everything is fine and correct. We're gonna open, take the build platform. And again, as before, you can see here that in one shot, in one print, we have different restorations. We have 2 shell mockups, we have 3 crowns, 4 overlays, and 1 bridge. This is one of the key points of printed restorations. You can scale production, and you can also maximize the time of the patients in your practice. So now again, we are going to one of the most, or not the most important part of the printed restoration world: washing and curing. There are many articles already that are showing that incorrect washing and curing will affect the inner part of the restoration. So when you go to the clinical part, you will have problems in the fitting. So please be sure that you follow the recommendations of the manufacturer and you have the correct alcohols and the correct time settings in your curing machine. So now that we have separated from the build platform our printed restorations, again, very important to understand, we have 2 different alcohols. This alcohol is dedicated only for printed restorations, and this one is dedicated to the bite spins or nightcaps. We don't want to mix both materials. The chemistry, if we mix both materials, will affect the final product. So very important, separate alcohols, have it in the good conditions, and now put to clean and wash everything with the correct timing. After that, we will move on again into the curing steps and timing. So now we are gonna go into the final steps of printed restorations, going into the curing phase. Very important to follow manufacturer recommendations of time and line intensity. So the final part of customizing the restorations is the classic staining and glaze. You will see many options in the market, but our philosophy, what we have learned during this time, is that simplicity is the key. We believe that less is actually more. So now, as we will show you how with minimal steps, you will be able to do a very nice functional and aesthetic restorations, minimizing the steps of staining and glazing. So we have these two polishing brushes. We will have this silicone that is gonna help us to fix a little bit and do a little bit of manipulation of the restoration. We also, as we shown before, have our model with the die printed. This is something that we don't do all the time, but at the beginning can be recommended because you can also sit your restoration here and check the fitting, and also you can also put it into the model and it will help you for some of the steps of the staining and glaze. In this part, you have also some brushes that we use for the customization of the staining and glaze, some water also to clean the brushes, the LED lamp, and then you will have different types of colors and for staining and glazing. We're gonna start now with the mechanical procedures. We're gonna take all the parts that were touching a little bit the occlusal first and the occlusal anatomy. Second step that we do is to start slowly the staining and glazing. We normally start with this clear glaze to put over the surface of the restorations. We apply the lights to cure all this initial part. We can play a little bit with the colors, a little bit of brown to give a little bit of the nature to these restorations. These lines in the residual margins that we have already printed will give to the patients and to the restorations a nice natural look and feeling. You can see now after the curing how the restoration is taking a more natural look, and now we can add an extra little bit on the cusps, a little bit of blue in these areas that will give this halo effect. So now that we had finished all the colors that we decide to put into these restorations, the final step that we like to do is adding a final layer of glaze. After adding this, we will cure it again, and with a hand polish and very easily, we will give the final shiny to the restoration. So when we have accomplished all the steps of the staining and glaze, we will have our restoration ready, and then we will move on into the clinical part. We always, as you can see in the video, recommend to work with isolation. This is something that will keep the environment in a more dry and without any type of contaminations. Like in this case, we are also adding a little bit of Teflon in the distal sides to be sure that we can move this rubber band in the correct position, so we'll be able afterwards to check that the fit of the restoration is correct. We are gonna try the restorations in a dry environment. We want to check the fit. We want to check with the mirror that everything is fitted in the correct position. And if we like it, we will proceed after into the final bonding steps. So when we talk about bonding and printed restorations, we really have to be careful and of course follow manufacturer recommendations. We are working with new materials. We really need to have a little bit more of clinical research, but following the recommendations of the manufacturer will give you the right conditions to be sure that what you're putting in your patient's mouth will work. The steps that we normally follow is after the isolation to sandblast the inner part of the restorations, apply MDP silane, and in the tooth part we do the classic 3 steps bonding with etching, applying primer and bond. And the nexus between both parts, the restorations and the tooth structure, what we are doing lately with very good results is preheated composite. We like to preheat the composite with the correct temperature guided by the manufacturer, put it in the interface of the restorations, and then taking and putting the correct pressure in the tooth structure. After that, we will cure, following again the correct time, and remove all the excess, being very careful and not touching so much the occlusal surface if it's not needed. As here you can see, after the polish, we have a very good integrations in the margin and have a very good adaptations in terms of aesthetics and functional point of view in this case in particular.